Welcome to Season 3 of Malevolent Autopsy. I'm your host, Queen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am so excited to be here with you all. Now let me warn you, the show contains major spoilers for everything in Malevolent as of the day this episode is published, so if you're not caught up, I'm not liable. But before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask my lovely co-host, what part of Arthur's body are you betting on getting injured this week?
Howdy, hello. My name is Vol Control. I use he, him pronouns, and this week I'm betting on Arthur's toe getting injured.
I don't like that answer very much.
Why? Just because it's connected to a foot?
I don't. Ugh.
He's just gonna stub his toe. It's just gonna be auditory. You're not gonna have to hear anything else about feet. But last time he was in the forest in the Dreamlands, he had to sacrifice a part of his pinky, so just to balance things out, maybe it's gonna be a toe this time?
I don't.
No?
I just don't like feet. I think that they shouldn't be on people. I don't like them. They're bad.
Okay, well, just for you, Arthur is not naked. He is wearing shoes. I mean, he's naked otherwise, but he's wearing shoes.
Yes, it's just shoes. Will you let us know about this week's chapter, Vol?
I would love to, because this week's chapter was a real treat. We are bringing so much big positive energy into this week after last week. Just when we were in the depths of mourning Arthur's death, we're treated to a series of vignettes. Happy memories of firsts with Furrow, when he saw her for the first time. Her first bath, her first scary fairy tale, her first time at the piano. And a seed planted long ago finally comes to fruit. Arthur fruit, that is. Out he comes, right out of a tree in the forest in the Dreamlands, blind and naked as the day he was born, and without his scars. We're treated to as warm a welcome as one can expect from the Dreamlands by the traitor. What a sound for sore ears. We really missed that guy. But Arthur is not the main character in the Traitor's timeline, so if Arthur doesn't want to trade, he's not interested. But that's hardly of concern to Arthur, who soon discovers that he still carries another soul. Lilith. Arthur speedruns the amnesia bullshit and cuts to the chase. It's Lilith's fault that he's here. Lilith then tries to speedrun taking over Arthur's body, but relents when he resists. She's clever enough to recognize that they need to work together, so she gives Arthur a choice. Whose voice would he be most willing to cooperate with?
And what a fucking choice it was. This chapter, I don't even know how to do carrots and sticks for this chapter, because we were all just spending so long talking about the fact that Arthur was dead, and I was literally sobbing a week ago.
Yeah. Last week's autopsy was so weepy and emotional, and I think it was kind of healing for all of us to get together and have that moment of mourning and to prepare ourselves to be without Arthur. And then what do you fucking know? Next thing we get not only Arthur, but like happy memories of his time with Furrow. And then our guy's there. He's alive. Like, I think, talk about subverted expectations, you know?
For real. And I think it's interesting that he came back and we got memories of his time with Furrow. And I have to say, there's no way to not talk about my carrot while talking about the chapter, so I'm just going to say my own carrot was the way Arthur talks to Furrow, because I have younger brothers. They are, well, now they're 18 and 20, and so I really helped raise them. I remember talking to them exactly the way Arthur talked to them. You don't know what I'm saying, but I'm telling you to cover your eyes. Like, you when you're alone with kids, everyone thinks that, you must talk like, you dumb things down for them. You get really simple for them, but you don't, especially when they're so young that they don't even understand the simple things when they're infants. No. You're really talking to yourself.
It's almost like when you talk to your pets in like a baby voice that they respond well to, but you could say anything in that sweet little baby voice and they don't know the difference.
We've definitely done that with pets too. Like, oh, come here, dumbass. Like,
Right.
They have no idea what they're hearing. The point is that you're talking to them. But I
Yeah.
loved hearing that very, very realistic depiction of Arthur speaking to his child. And I know that's kind of redundant to say because Harlan is a dad and he
Yeah.
knows how to talk to kids. And of course it's going to be realistic. But I think that really speaks to how your personal experiences can really transform art into feeling for people, and how your unique lived experience of your own life and your own challenges and even just the way you
Yeah.
talk to people
Yeah.
can really come through in your art form and help people experience the scene. Because I know there are lots of people who listen to Malevolent that don't have experience with little ones and don't know that feeling of nurturing or raising a child. And I have my own feelings about like whether or not I want to have kids or if
Sure.
I even enjoy being around kids. But those are all very separate from my very positive associations with like giving my little brothers a bath and
Yeah.
like singing Wheels on the Bus to them. Those are all very positive memories for them, for them and for me.
Yeah.
So it was really, really sweet to hear those moments with Thoreau in coming out of what was such a heavy and emotional chapter.
Yeah, yeah, and it was just really nice to have more positive memories and see some of the memories that I feel like Arthur might have repressed or not allowed himself to revisit as much because he carries so much guilt. And some of our voice submissions today talk about how this is really like it shows a certain amount of growth that Arthur is able to remember and hold on to those happy memories.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Oh, also, I love the fact that we got confirmation that the tree basically put a placenta on Arthur, which I
Oh
thought was
my God.
hilarious.
No, I thought we were going to leave the placenta out of the podcast. God.
It's
God.
tree placenta
Oh
time.
no. I don't like it. I don't
I love
like
it.
it.
It's hilarious
It's
to
all it all
me.
it's wombs all the way down, isn't it?
It's
It
wombs
just
everywhere.
Do I get to talk about my carrot now or do you want to talk about tree placenta some more?
No, I'm just gonna really quickly say my stick is Lilith. Hi, Lilith. Hi, lady that I said I straight up don't care about until she's relevant, and then she immediately became relevant. Hi, my bad. Sorry.
Sorry. Speaking of Lilith, my carrot this week was how sassy Arthur was with Lilith. Like when Lilith is trying to say like I could make us look like anyone, wouldn't that be useful? And Arthur's like, right now in the middle of the forest? No, it's not.
I love their banter. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah. Arthur's energy in this episode was just giving me the energy of that GTA San Andreas gif of ah shit, here we go again.
He's not falling for that shit twice. They're not friends.
No, no. And my stick this week, I didn't have any. There were no sticks. This was such a fantastic episode.
Liar.
Okay, if I had to pick a stick, I would say that it's the fact that Lilith is quote unquote more powerful than the King in Yellow and could, in theory, take over Arthur's body anytime she wants. However,
Yeah.
given how well that went over this time, I'm not so sure. I got some thoughts beginning to form. My smooth brain is getting some wrinkles thinking about this exchange where Lilith tries to take over Arthur's body and then stops. Interesting. Very interesting.
I think there have been a lot of fun theories and thoughts developing about that. I
Yeah.
also noticed that, and this will come up in a submission, but there's a private little goo chat, and we noticed that there are some very similar sound effects when that happens. I think we're putting clues together and maybe
Yes.
cottoning on to some things. But I agree. I think that whole scene of like the takeover was very enlightening, and I
Yeah.
hope we see more of that.
Yeah. I just want to mention one thing because somebody in chat brought it up, and I just want to save this for posterity. Last week, after we finished recording Autopsy and everybody was gathering on the Invictus server to get ready for the drop for 281, somebody commented, "I feel better after Autopsy." And Harlan himself came in the chat and was like, "Oh no, what did they say?"
What did they say?
And I thought that was very funny.
I hope that Autopsy makes everyone feel better about the episode. That's part of the lift of the public audience, is that we do this to help
Yes.
you feel better.
We're a community here.
Yes. So, I actually, before we get into submissions and all of that fun stuff, would like to invite a friend up onto the stage with us.
The only friend we have right now.
Yes, the only friend we have right now, because this chapter gave us the introduction of a new song that Harlan said he was very proud of, and as he fucking should be, because it is incredible.
It's
And
delightful.
who do we know who knows everything in the world about music, who's basically our music expert, who's amazing and incredible?
Who could it be? Who could it be?
I would love to introduce Rose. Welcome in, Rose. How are you today?
I am wonderful. It's a beautiful Sunday.
I'm thrilled to have you.
It's wonderful to have you.
Yes.
Excited to be here.
We know that a new song was pushed into this chapter first thing, and I saw you going crazy over it basically right away. So would you like to give us your thoughts on that?
I would love to. So this new track is called Faro's Light, which adds a 5th song to our Faro saga, as I'm now calling it. So I'm going to go through what we have so far. We've got Faro's Song, Faro's Lullaby, Faro's Waltz, Faro's Goodbye, and now we have Faro's Light, which in comparison to the other Faro songs we have, there is one huge difference, which is that this piece is in a major key. So all of the other Faro songs, every single other one is in a minor key. The Faro's Song and Faro's Lullaby are both, I am pretty sure, in B minor. Faro's Light, on the other hand, is in A flat major, which is definitely a different vibe in comparison, just from a key standpoint.
It feels so different. It feels so different from the other songs.
It's very happy, like right off the bat. So one of the first things I noticed when I was listening to it was like, this sounds like a lullaby a little bit. It's lovely. It's so light and innocent, mostly because of where it is in the piano octave. It is actually in the upper octave. And when I was transcribing it, it was actually easier to do it in treble clef for both the left and right hand, which means both hands are higher. Like it's not really a low bass note. Our lowest note is an A below the staff, which is not very low at all.
Right.
Which I know I've talked a couple of times about like how the different octaves of notes can make it sound different, but with this one, since it is like showing up first with our Faro tableau of when like Arthur first met her and said that it was her name, it kind of gives us like this instant light in a way. Like it's such a fitting name for the piece.
Yeah.
As I was listening, I felt like it wasn't done, which Harlan dropped the soundtrack almost immediately after. So there is another portion of the soundtrack that isn't played in the episode, but the piano portion that we get fits really, really well. So eventually, I'm going to do a full analysis, deep dive on all of the 5 songs in Faro's Saga. But for right now, I thought it was interesting also that Faro's Light is the first official soundtrack we have for season 6.
Oh, that is interesting.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. You're so right.
Does that mean that there's a Faro song for every season?
So we have season 1, Faro's Song, and also Faro's Song Walk, which is a little bit different. So technically there's 6 Faro's songs. Faro's Waltz is season 3, Faro's Lullaby is season 2, Faro's Goodbye is season 4, and Faro's Light is season 6. So we don't have one for season 5. But we do for every other season. However, we do have that big moment with Malum.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I was gonna say I couldn't remember if there was like a moment for Furo in season 5, but I totally forgot about that whole scene with Malum and discussing Furo's light, which is very interesting in retrospect now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was when we first heard it. Yeah, that's fascinating. And I wonder how the titles are playing into the narrative here because I mean, Furo's light is very on the nose about what we've learned, about her being quote unquote the lighter, which we know the
Not
manager specifically
literally.
told us she is not
Yes.
actually the fucking lighter, but
When we first started talking about having you on, Rose, I went and sat down and listened to all of the Furrow saga, all of the different songs, and sort of wrote down like my first impressions of what feeling each one evokes. And so for Furrow's Waltz, which this is a weird feeling to take away from it, but it felt like Furrow is a young woman. I don't know.
Mm.
But Furrow's lullaby feels like Arthur's representation of grief and struggle as a single father. Furrow's song feels like Arthur trying to really write music. I wonder what he was working on when Furrow died. Furrow's goodbye feels like grief in every key, every note, and struggling to find the next note to play it out. And then Furrow's light sounds like a hopeful approach to Furrow's memory, how much of Arthur's feeling of guilt and grief have changed, or perhaps his memories of the happier times. And I'm just so curious where the composition in Arthur's timeline all of these songs fall.
I know we do have some answers. It has been mentioned when these were composed. Like Kane at one point says, "Why didn't you finish Furrow's?" I'm pretty sure it's goodbye.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
That would be, I feel, after Furrow's death. That would be
Yeah.
my thought. Furrow's Waltz, I feel, could also be later, but I think Song and Lullaby are early.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right because he played Furrow's lullaby presumably as a lullaby for her while she was still alive.
I love the idea. Why didn't you ever finish Furrow's goodbye? And the answer would be because he couldn't let go, and that's what the
Yeah.
season's all about. Is about letting go.
Yeah.
Full circle. We love full circles.
Yeah, and being reminded of that line, I feel like my takeaway that Furrow's goodbye specifically feels like struggling to find the next note is like
Mhm.
that's what it's supposed to evoke. And so goddamn Harlan, like Mr. I'm not a composer, I'm not really a musician, makes these beautiful evocative pieces. Just incredible.
He's so funny. He insists he's not an actor, he's not a writer, and he's not a composer, and then he does all this.
Right.
Which part of it is he's so good at combining the music with his story. Like it is very easy for all of us to connect these dots of what's happening in the story with the characters to what is happening in the music. Even if you don't know music, you listen to Furrow's Light and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a very like heartfelt, comforting piece of music.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Furrow's Lullaby or anything else, it's like, this is mournful, this is sad. You know that something else has happened here.
Yeah.
Can I just ask? I know we didn't plan this, but I have one question.
Yes.
This is a very newbie music person who clearly doesn't touch instruments question.
That's totally okay. That's what I'm here for.
When Arthur says that the notes aren't for her, like her hands aren't big enough, I guess, for the keys. What does that mean?
All right. So a piano typically does not come in smaller sizes. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all instrument. So, for example, my hands on a standard piano, I can reach an octave. Pinky can reach a C, and my thumb can reach the next C.
Mm-hmm.
When you are smaller and younger, you probably cannot hit that range. And for a lot of piano music, you need to be able to hit at least an octave, or you have to be doing jumps. You can make it work if you're a pianist, you know the techniques to practice. I'm not a pianist, but I know from a violin standpoint, you start on a smaller fractional size instrument, and then when your hand size grows, your arms grow, you can move up to the next size. So like I didn't start on a full size violin, I started on a half size actually. Whenever we listened to Coda, when she was playing with Arthur, she was probably just plunking one key at a time because that's all she could do. But once your hands grow, you can definitely hit more notes just because hand size.
Yeah.
It's like physically you cannot play unless your hand is big enough.
Got it. So there's no it's probably more that like as you get older, you learn more complex pieces because you can reach those keys, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can play multiple notes at once. Yeah.
Right.
Because
right.
sometimes you have to be able to play more than 5 notes. So like you would play 2 notes with your thumb and then play more notes, etc. Again, I'm not a pianist, so that might not be completely right. But I know when I'm playing chords, there are chords with 4 notes that sometimes I'm like, I can't reach that.
Well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
something that it makes me think of is actually, I don't know how many of you type using home row as like the place where your fingers rest and your fingers move from there, like on a like a computer keyboard.
Yeah, on a keyboard.
But it's kind of the same thing where if your hands were smaller, you wouldn't be able to type as fast or in the same way because you can't necessarily like reach all of the keys with the same reach that your fingers have as an adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good
sense.
analogy.
I'm glad it's not dumb.
Thank you for answering my silly, goofy, basic question. But I was just
Oh,
sitting
that's
here
okay.
like, what do you mean?
If you've like never tried to sit down and play at a piano before, it's definitely difficult. And I know as a string player, like guitar for me is really hard because there are some chords I cannot hit because my hand is not big enough.
Right.
My fingers are not long enough. I just
Yeah.
can't play it.
Okay,
There are ways
fascinating.
around it.
Right. It takes so much practice to be able to like hit chords on a guitar neck without your hand cramping first of all, but also like
Yes.
figuring out what your reach is.
Ooh, an octave is about A to colon on a keyboard. Yeah, that's about right. So like if you put your pinky on A
Oh.
and your thumb on a colon, that's an
Ooh.
octave.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
Yeah,
That's
that
so far apart.
that's a big stretch even for my grown-up hands.
I can play an octave, but I'm on the edge of the keys and I can't do more than those 2 notes. I can barely get a third note with whatever finger I'm trying to play that note with. I do have a couple more things to say about Froze Light. So in the beginning, we hear piano. It's just piano. It's this nice high octave. And then we are in a major key. In music, there's something called modulation, which means you move to a minor key briefly, and then you return to the home key. So we're in A flat major. We modulate briefly to what I am saying is C minor at the moment, and this is with my precursory analysis. And then we go back to A flat major when our string friends come in. So this is the part of the recording that does not appear in the episode. So Harlan added some string pizzicato, which I am saying is a string quartet, which would include 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. However, I think there's also a solo cello. I could be wrong, and it could just be the 3 upper strings and then a cello, but I think there are 2 cellos just because of the depth of some of these pizzicatos.
Yeah, and we hope that there's that special cello there. We want that special
Yes.
cello there.
Yes. What I think is really interesting is that the cello is important in this moment, not just because it is a new line that is pulling us along with this melody. The melody, which occurs multiple times. We have the bass line. This piece is in 12/8, by the way, which is a really fun time signature.
Interesting.
We have the bass line moving through 1 chords over and over and over again. It goes briefly to a 5 chord, back to a 1 chord. When we modulate, it gets a little unsteady and uncertain. And then when we land back home in our A flat major key with our piano melody returning, it is only strengthened by the cello's appearance. But the cello notes are stronger than the string notes and piano notes in that moment, just because of the chords that it's holding. And I do also think it's interesting that we have cello in this moment when we were not expecting it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. God, I'm gonna have to go back because when I was listening to all of the Furrow songs, I was doing it on the Bandcamp, and so I must have listened to the full song that you're talking about, the second part that didn't play in 281. But oh man, I need to go back and listen to it again.
There's a version of Furrow's song with cello, and then was it the waltz that had cello, or was it the lullaby? It was the lullaby. The lullaby also had cello.
Interesting.
Also, it's not really solo cello because the violins and viola are there and the piano's there. So it's not solo cello. Yes, it's playing a solo line, but it's not alone.
Right.
Because he's never alone. We're always with him.
Because he's not alone.
I also want to mention that if you have not heard it, Furrow's Light is on Spotify, and you can listen to the whole thing, which I don't believe is present in the podcast. I think it only gets a portion played, and the whole thing is definitely worth listening to.
That's correct.
as we record this, we've heard it because had the chapter drop, but the public actually has access to this song right now before they know the context. And I think Harlan learned from dropping the wager to certain patrons early that he really likes the effect it has when you can recognize the song before you hear the context.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also wonder if him dropping Faro's Light early, knowing that Faro's Light is coming in a future episode and it doesn't play at the end of the last part where Arthur dies, I maybe will help people
Yeah.
hold out some hope about Arthur's death.
Yeah, for them to have the ability to play Faro's Light in whenever they want, but to not hear it in 280, I think will set up anticipation that will pay off when they do hear it in 281, and when we all hear it again at some point in the podcast. He has said that it's going to come back in a big way.
And knowing what we know music theory wise, we can probably make some healthy guesses, some good assumptions.
Yes. I am very excited to see how he uses Faro's Light going forward, because it sounds so hopeful. You know, people say that it feels like a warm hug, or it feels like a bright light in the sort of wake of how 281 ended, and I'm really excited to see more of that hope in our hope horror.
Agree. Is there anything else you want to share that you noticed about Faro's Light, Rose?
Other than it's an absolutely beautiful piece of music, and I do have the entire thing transcribed at the moment, so eventually I'm gonna share a link so people who want to learn it can play it. The only thing that's a little bit maybe not correct is the pizzicato chords, just because those are a bit harder to hear, but
Right.
Harlan has outdone himself once again with the music, and I will, of course, be always willing to talk about more.
And make sure you go put that on the wiki, because I know people are going to want to know. People are always popping into the Discord to ask if there is sheet music for all of these songs, and when you transcribe, I feel like everyone should be able to see the hard work that you've done. So make sure you put that on the wiki, or give it to somebody else to put on the wiki if you don't have time.
I will add it to my list of things to do.
Yes, you're doing an amazing service for the fandom and for just Malevolent as a whole. Yeah, having your transcriptions is so cool.
Thank you so much for coming on, Rose. Thank you for being our music consultant. And before you go, how did you vote this week?
It took me a moment to remember what the vote was, because it's been such like a whirlwind. I voted to keep Scratch just because I feel that's what I felt in my heart of hearts.
Good. I like to hear it. Glad to hear it. I'm extra glad to just hear that you didn't forget there was a vote and not vote at all, because that would be would be the bad one.
I did vote right when it dropped.
Yay. Okay, good. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, Rose. You have a lovely rest of your evening.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rose.
Hey, so
I just want to say, as we're moving forward, this has been a really strange vote week. I think we're all just fucking manic after getting Arthur back and having a sort of not inconsequential, but a kind of lighthearted vote. Like, it doesn't feel like the stakes are weighing us down, and so we've just been kind of having a lot of fun with the vote this week.
I'm dreading the fact that this is such an easy vote, and I like my votes divisive, and this one wasn't, and I'm sad.
But it was so fun. It has been a delight. It has been such a delight.
By the way, before I forget, because I will forget, happy Autopsy 69. Nice.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, didn't we get a nice vote for 69? Really just silly and lighthearted and just goofs and gabs and everybody having a good time.
Well, before we go into all of that, let me read out the poll, even though it's kind of useless. The poll this week was stay as Scratch, speak as Oscar, speak as Noel, speak as Kellen, speak as Larson. Those were our 5 options.
Mm-hmm.
We have right now 543 votes on a Sunday.
Whoa! Holy crap! I think
Massive
that is
numbers.
A record-breaking number.
Definitely record-breaking. I have a feeling we're going to get to 600 before the end of this part.
Yeah.
Maybe even before the end of the next chapter. right now, Stay as Scratch is in the lead with a heavy 79%.
Nice.
Speak as Oscar has 7%. Speak as Noel has 3%. Speak as Kellen has 3%. And Speak as Larson is in second place with 8%.
Congratulations, larcenists. Y'all fucking did
There
it.
has been a big campaign for who gets second place because no one is willing to get first place.
Yeah.
I think everyone has
We're all
decided
pretty
that they
much
want
in
Scratch.
agreement. Yeah.
But there are people who are like, okay, I don't want this guy to win, but I do want him to be in second place. And
Yeah.
Larson has beat out Oscar so far.
Yeah. Who?
And despite, yeah, I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that
Despite the
is.
fact that I just want to put this out in front, despite the fact that everyone was pinging me and telling me like, they know who I'm going to vote for, but no, I was always and forever will be very solidly Scratch. That was my vote this week. What about yours, Vol?
Yeah, absolutely Scratch. I think that the only other alternative, if Scratch didn't have such a strong lead, I do feel pretty strongly about voting for Kellen. If not Scratch, I
Yeah.
would have voted for Kellen.
Yeah, me too.
For a multitude of reasons. Because somebody one of our voice submissions brings up a really good point about Kellen, which I think is really cool. But part of me wanted to vote for Kellen because it's a Scratch impersonation that Arthur is somewhat familiar with, and also Kellen is a character that Arthur neither has really strong positive connections with, obviously, but also after the exchange that he had with Kellen in the Dark World, he doesn't have a ton of like super negative connotations with him either, which is kind of funny to say because the guy did try to fucking kill him. So, but you know what? Arthur has strange friends, so what can I say?
Yeah, I agree. And we had a really good closing note for Kellen when we first landed in the Dark World, which I think
Yeah.
changed a lot of people's perspective on his story and him as a character. And I think
Yeah.
even Arthur's relationship with Kellen changed because of that interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know that we have a ton of voice submissions plus 2 emails, and I think you said we were going to start off with an email. So would you like to do the honors in reading the first one for me?
I would love to. Hello, Autopsy. My name's Ellie, she, her pronouns. Hope everyone is having a good day. We were all left pretty shaken up from chapter 280. Grief rolled in like a thunderstorm, but we, the patrons, held each other together through it. Something I am immensely grateful for. You guys are the best. Let's move to the present now, though. The possibility that Arthur had died for the final time and permanently was very real. But as the countdown for chapter 281 live drop began, I knew deep inside my heart that everything was going to be okay. This whole time, I had a feeling that somehow Arthur was going to come back. I just knew it, and I couldn't be happier now. They say your life flashes before your eyes before you die, so we started the chapter with a flashback to Arthur's time with Darling Faroe, and we were accompanied by something new, a new song to light the road ahead. Thank you, Harlan. I've had a Faroe's Light playing on loop since then. And then Arthur gets reborn, a proper birth, a loud and messy one, as it should be. I'm going to be honest, and I completely forgot about the pinky. A seed planted so long ago, left to be nurtured by the dreamland soil. I was blown away because one moment we hear Arthur coughing and throwing up slime, no idea what's happening, but the next moment we hear one sentence from a familiar voice, and we immediately know where we are, and everything else clicks into place soon after. Incredible soundscaping. In my opinion, Arthur coming back doesn't lessen the impact of his death in the Dark World. He gave up his life for John, and in turn he was able to come back to life thanks to John giving up a piece of himself all that time ago. A mutual sacrifice, a mutual gift. A pinky promise, if you will. I could write on, but this is not an essay. I will finish this message by saying I am so happy to be back in the Dreamlands, and with Lilith no less. I've missed her so much. She came in clutch. The next chapters are going to be insane. I just know it. I hope you liked my disjointed thoughts. Enjoy the rest of your autopsy.
A pinky promise is
So
so
good.
fucking clever. Oh my
so good.
God. That's so good.
Ellie, thank you so much for submitting. That was a really beautifully written email. You were so eloquent, and I loved how you gave us sort of the experience of going through from 280 to 281, at your experience as a listener, as a patron. Yeah, there were a lot of feelings, and I think there was, oh, I remember now, after Autopsy and before 281 dropped, I believe it was in the Eel Pit, somebody started posting Hope music. And so everybody was throwing in their favorite like Hope track, and we just like got all like amped up on hopeful music. I put it all together on a playlist, and it was amazing how we all really sort of like brought that hopeful energy into 281 right at the last second.
Yeah, because if you listen to Autopsy, there is a lot of hope, but we are all crying like really hard. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we sound pretty dismal. But
Yeah.
I think
There
it
were a
was
lot of
so
tears.
important to truly grieve Arthur as though he honestly died, and to very much believe that this was a permanent thing. I think for a lot of us, it was very cathartic to be able to do that and not
Yes.
know. And I think that was really important. So I'm glad that we didn't have it spoiled for us. And I hope that other people can preserve that
Yeah.
feeling for the public.
Yeah, and I also think that it speaks to how effective Harlan is as a writer, and how he has built this relationship of trust with his audience, where not just do we trust him and have faith in him to tell a satisfying story, but when he says a character is dead, or when he, depicts a character death, we don't immediately go like, I see what you're doing there. You're trying to trick us. We're like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, this is happening. Oh, fuck, Arthur is dead.
The fucking thing that clinched it for me, that made me truly not sure if this was permanent or not, was the fact that I don't know if I can say that. I'm going to talk about the 8 ball, but I don't think I can talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going
secrets.
to. Patron secrets.
This is your weekly Autopsy shout out to join the Patreon and
Yes.
join the Malevolent Patreon, the Invictus Stream Patreon, and be just spoiled for extra gifts and perks and little secret things. And something that we can mention to the public, when Harlan did the next spooky stream, there were a couple of people who requested Arthur voices, and there was one message where someone asked for words of encouragement from Arthur, and Harlan, Joe got distracted and was like talking about something else, and Harlan almost just dropped it and like just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But Joe was like, oh yeah, they asked for Arthur, and Harlan was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he had Arthur say, I'm totally fine and not feeling under the weather at all, or something like that.
Baby. Oh, yeah. That was so bad. That was spooky streams are so dangerous. By the way, we're doing this episode early because we're doing a surprise spooky stream in like 2 hours. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah, and Spade mentions in the chat that he said hugger mugger a lot, like from the poem.
Oh my god, that's right.
Harlan, you fiend, you villain.
Truly. Villain. Okay, shall we listen to another voice sub?
Let's do.
Hi, this is Misraa, pronoun she, they, and oh my god, Arthur is alive. Like many, I swung between hope and despair after Arthur's death, especially after such a beautiful and loving goodbye. It felt like this one could be permanent. But I am so happy that he is back, and it doesn't feel like a cop-out or a cheap trick, but something that was set up and earned long ago for this rebirth. Not only was the decision to bite off his pinky a patron vote, but it was also something initially suggested by John as they talked about the woods. And once Arthur realized that it would be his left pinky, the one that John controls and feels, he ultimately did give that choice to John. And John said, "For time untold, I've caused suffering to others. I'd call this penance." So really, it was John and him wanting atonement back then that allowed him to get Arthur back.
How dare you?
Misraa! Misraa comes in with the steel chair to remind us about that penance line. Oh my god.
How dare you? Ugh, thanks for your submission, I guess.
Yes. But Misraa also mentioned something that I wanted to chime in and agree on, that the payoff of Arthur coming back so soon did not feel cheap at all. It felt so well earned, especially after like mourning for a week. But I feel like, Harlan had voiced a little bit of concern about whether it was too quick, if it happened too quickly, if Arthur seemed to like quote unquote get over it too quickly. But honestly, I thought that Arthur hitting the ground running was shocking. It was good payoff. It was what, a good faction of people had been theorizing, that something would be up with the Pinky in the Dreamlands, and all these little seeds that had been planted about, if you are imprinted or some part of you is in the Dreamlands, then there's a connection there. So yeah, I agree. I thought it was really worthwhile payoff.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Hello, it's Spade. I love this chapter so much. We got to hear Faro's voice. Speaking of Faro, in Season 2, when the king tried to erase Arthur, the king couldn't, because Arthur refused to let go of the memory of Faro's death. But, in Season 6, after Arthur is erased, or seemingly erased, Faro's birth, or one of his earliest memories of Faro, is the memory Arthur first has when coming back to life. I just love the full circle moment. And to talk about a few other stuff of the chapter, I wanted to point out some certain lines I thought was interesting. One of them being one of the earliest things of when Arthur introduces himself, or reintroduces, of saying, "My name is Arthur Lester," or it was. I wonder if he's unsure about his current identity, or if this is a sign maybe he wants to make a new one with a new name. Not sure. And the way how Arthur treats Lilith is very similar to how Arthur treated Yellow in Season 3. But like in Season 3, I understand Arthur's not doing great right now, so I do understand why he's treating them like this. And when Arthur points out he can smell more, I wonder if his new body is just more sensitive to his senses, like smell, because it's new, or if his new body genuinely senses things more. And I do appreciate how, although Lilith tries to take over Arthur's body, she will listen to him eventually when he says no. And another line of dialogue I thought was interesting was Arthur going, "Moreover, I've been instrumental in all of this. Cain came to me first." And Lilith's reply of, "Didn't you wonder why?" And then the "forget it" moment. And I wonder, is the "didn't you wonder why" to the "I've been instrumental in all of this," or the "Cain came to me first," or both? Because it seems like Lilith knows either way. And I'm interested to see what Lilith knows, or if we'll ever find out. And I love when Lilith's doing all the different voices of all the other people, how so annoyed and just done Arthur sounds with them. It's just more of like an annoyed parent just kind of having to sit through this, I imagine. Oh no, I just thought it was kind of funny. And that is all. Bye-bye, eels.
Thank you, Spade, for your submission. That was delightful. And I just want to say, I am so looking forward to the animatics that inevitably follow and the creative ways people are going to draw Lilith switching between voices in Arthur's head.
Oh my god, you're so right.
Is gonna be fucking amazing, hilarious.
Oh my god,
perfect.
Oh my god, Lilith, like, quote unquote, dressed up as
dressing
John,
up, yes,
and Oscar and Larson and Kelly.
Oh my
god, that's
it's gonna be
funny.
So good. It's gonna be so good. You guys, I can't visual art for shit. You all need to get on that. It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be
Get in the comments and drop the links to the animatics.
please.
Spade, I love your message. You bring up all of the unanswered questions that we do not have time to even theorize about this week. But these are all the questions that are going to be hanging around our heads, ruminating over, and I can't wait to get more little drips and drabs of hints and clues that answer some of these questions.
Yeah, Seer of Time says, "I swear Lilith John was the hardest I've laughed at Malev scene in a while." I think Harlan knew that we needed an injection quick to the fucking veins of humor after everything that he just put Arthur through.
I will say there have been some good laughs in Season 6. We talked about this way back, I think, in the beginning of Season 6, but we talked about oh, whimsical tune, when will you come back from the war? And we didn't get a whimsical tune, but it was a very, very funny moment to hear Lilith imitating John. And it reminds me of how Harlan sometimes parodies John a little bit during Spooky Stream.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's always very, very indicative of the skill one must have as an actor, especially a voice actor, though, to be able to play a character playing another character. That is just so layered.
Yes. Oh, and I meant to mention, it was so funny listening to this, to 281 again, because just on Friday's Spooky Stream, we had someone live in the chat realizing that Harlan does all the voices. And so, of course, Harlan had to show off and show that he could do all of the voices at the drop of a hat.
If you want to hear that, that was last Spooky Stream.
That was Friday, so that was the 12th, September 12th.
On the official YouTube channel. And so if you want to hear Harlan rapid cycle through many, many Malevolent voices, September 12th, Spooky Stream will give that to you.
Yeah, and I think it's fairly close to the beginning, like within the first half hour or so.
Yeah, at least within the first hour, if not sooner.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we listen to another voice sub?
Hello, this is Myth, okay, what in the Jesus fucking hell shit in all of religion? What in the fucking Harlan, you bastard? I will come for your doors. Joking. That was a unimaginable level of surprise motherfucker. Like, Dokes ain't got shit on Arthur Lester, alright? That's all I'm saying, also, the vote. Oh, I mean, it's not too difficult. I mean, Scratch is, in my opinion, the objectively correct answer. One thing that I do find interesting, though, is that Lilith tried John's voice, but it didn't show up in the vote. Like, it was just not an option to have John's voice, which I think is interesting. Honestly, imagine if it was Larson the entire goddamn time. Oh, I would have hated this show if Larson fucking won. And to all of those who voted for him, just please, I need to understand why.
Yeah, thank you, Myth. I think that sums up a lot of people's first thoughts.
Myth, I have missed your messages.
What in the Jesus fucking hell shit? I love that. It was great. Good opener.
I'm gonna come for your doors, Harlan. That made me laugh so hard, Myth. But Myth does bring up an interesting point that I hadn't really given a whole lot of time to think about. And John is not one of the options, which I just think is interesting. I think it's for meta reasons rather than narrative reasons.
Yeah. I also think that there needs to be a way to distinguish, taken out of context, these clips of Malevolent, you wouldn't know what is Lilith and what is John if it was sounded like John. And I think some of that, can be pushed away with all the other options because you'll know that, Oscar wasn't ever a voice in Arthur's head, whoever the fuck that is. So it would be a little bit easier to distinguish between clips of seasons.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Autumn here, and oh boy, oh my god, we're so fucking back. Oh, not only is Arthur not dead, he is still blind. We win these, fuck yeah. And we get some Arthur and Lilith duo action. If you remember my note from a couple of weeks ago, this is what I've been hoping would happen, if a bit less painfully. And those little snippets with Thoreau, oh my god, my fucking heart. I have to assume Harlan's daughter Marie voiced them, and she did a really good job. Last week was rough for me, I mean, you could tell. So Arthur surviving has really lifted a weight off my chest, as cheesy as it sounds. My hope has been restored. But you know whose hope is still in the gutter? John. I don't know about anyone else, but I am so excited to see John in his full Hasta body appear back on Earth. Like, what the fuck is he gonna do? People can't even look at him without going loopy. This will be fun as hell. Like some Dumb Witch horror type shit, and I'm so here for it. Not to mention, he'll still be grieving the loss of Arthur, and he tends to lash out when he feels strong emotions. This may sound sadistic, But oh boy, do I really want to see him dropped in a populated area. Just his presence would wreak havoc, and I can't help but wonder if he'd feed into it, or if his conversations with Arthur about his past actions are fresh enough in his mind to not immediately resort to violence when pressured. Who the fuck knows? I sure don't. But boy fucking howdy, am I so back. Ugh. All my art motivation has suddenly and miraculously begun to flow through my veins again, and I can feel myself. Have a good rest of your autopsy.
Thank you so much for your submission, Autumn. So glad to hear you doing so much better now.
I was just gonna say, this brought me so much joy because Autumn's message last week was so heart-wrenching. And so to hear Autumn say, we're so fucking back. And I wrote in my notes, sadistic Autumn is back, LOL. So glad you're back with the pain and the angst. And yeah, I'm really curious to think about what's going on with John.
Me too.
Hi, this is Pi, she, her. It's fascinating that Lilith is making us choose the persona she's using with Arthur from now on. Like, one argument I keep seeing in the poll mines is that we need to choose Scratch so Lilith can use her own voice. But she hasn't presented us with a true option. Mr. Scratch is no more real than Oscar or Noel. The only difference is that Scratch was a character she first played for fake Edward William Allen and not Arthur. Oscar and Noel would both be atrocious were Lilith to want to weaponize Arthur's guilt, and Larson he had never listened to in the first place. So Scratch feels safer than them, but Arthur just sounds so done with her at the end of the last chapter. I worry that Scratch could very quickly fall into the same camp as Larson. And then there's Kellen, the man who Arthur laid to rest back in part 31. Who Arthur knows isn't angry with him in death. There's nothing left unsaid for Lilith to possibly twist. It's as close to neutral ground as we can get. And that's why he has my vote. And not because I want to see more of my baby boy whatsoever.
Thank you, Pi, and thank you for coming in with your honesty at the very end. Because
I was gonna
knew
say
there had to be something else back there.
You had us in the first half. No, I really appreciate all of the thought that you brought into the different options, but and you made a really good argument for Kellen. Nothing left unsaid for Lilith to twist, as close to neutral ground as one could get. Really stuck with me. But then also you're a Kellen stan, so understandable.
Interesting thing to say, the option is Scratch, not Lilith, and Scratch was a persona or a character, as Pi said. And so when you talk about, trying to connect this to Scratch's identity or Lilith's identity and like wanting Lilith to use her own voice, it's still not truly her voice. It's just the voice that we're most comfortable hearing and associating with her.
Very interesting point, yeah.
And I think that it's definitely interesting that I think on a meta level, Harlan knew that we were not going to pick any of these other characters. I do not think that it was actually an option that he thought needed a lot of like debate or decision making. I think it's strategic.
And I have something to add to that. I feel like Harlan placed a few little like nudges in directions when he was setting up this vote, because Lilith or Scratch or whoever, Lilith starts calling Arthur kid, which felt very Noel coded. And I was wondering, like, are you trying to like manipulate our minds into thinking like, oh yeah, we should go for Noel? And I don't think that he genuinely thought that was going to work, but I thought it was very interesting because it could be seen as a clue that Harlan's telling us that we should pick Noel. I don't know. I don't know. That's some crazy Grackle shit.
I think that specifically, first of all, yes, it's very interesting to me that Lilith calls Arthur kid so much, because that was unexpected. I just, that shocked me. But the funny thing is, at the end of the chapter, the phrasing is like, what are you going to listen to? And if you look at that list of options, it's very obvious that most of those voices like might actually be more conducive to Arthur listening to them, because he sounds like he's so done with Scratch, which is what Pi said at the end of their submission. But the problem is we wouldn't listen to any of those voices. Arthur might, but we as the voters wouldn't. We'd be so distracted by the fact that that's not the person that we're really listening to. The point is, it's going to have to be harder for Arthur to listen to Scratch. Like, that's the point, is it's counterproductive to what's being asked of us. And that's supposed to happen, I think.
Yeah. One more grackle from the chat, and then we'll power through the rest of these voice subs, okay?
Okay.
Autumn says, Kane calls Arthur Artie like Parker, and Lilith calls Arthur Kid like Noel. You have connected 2 dots. I don't think you've connected shit, but you've certainly connected 2 dots.
The next submission we have is actually an email. And now I can see why you wanted me to read this one. Hello, Autopsy. It's me, Milk, they, them pronouns. I have returned to the submissions folder. Guys, we need to talk about the first 2 minutes of the episode because it is so important to me, Faro Lester, the haunter that haunts the narrative to ever haunt. One of the flashbacks of this chapter was a bathtub scene. No, not that one, but a new one, a happy one. One which I would like to interpret as Arthur helping Faro take her first bath. This scene made me cry over for so many reasons. One main one being how proud I am of Arthur because he's come so far. Hello, we've come so far, team, from being engulfed with guilt and feeling as though he's undeserving of anything because of that what happened to Faro. Being able to move on from that and cherish the happy moments he had with Faro in remembrance of her. My boy, look at my boy. Pride is not the word I'm looking for. Anyways, speaking of haunting the narrative, I think those first few minutes actually wraps up a big chapter of Arthur's character, and I feel as though we won't hear of Faro again in the future. Which is why we need a new character to haunt the narrative, which brings me to my vote for this week. I'm voting Kellen, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Who better to haunt the narrative than Kellen? He's been here since season 1. Kellen never dies. Vote for Kellen if you haven't. Thanks so much, Milk, for your submission. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Milk. We appreciate hearing your thoughts, and I love making Queen do the Milk voice. You get those capital letters just right. The resonance, the timbre, it's perfect.
All right, shall we listen to our next voice message?
Let's do.
Hello, Autopsies. Gogoat here. Any pronouns. My soul is refreshed, my heart is light, my skin is clear. And so is Arthur's, apparently. Rest in peace, Scartha. Welcome back, Smoother. My scar chart has been rendered useless. My motto when voting this season was, curiosity killed the cat, but the cat is already dead, so what have we got to lose? I really thought I was eating my words with that in 280, but everything's fine. Arthur is back. Thank goodness. And he's still blind. I see. I'm actually very glad for that. Arthur Lester may have died 4 times now, but he has also been born 3 times more than the average person. Breaking records in all stages of his life. Very impressive. And baby Fro, the scene where he puts his hand to her, oh, my heart. Colin Guthrie characters interacting with children and animals will always pull at my heartstrings. Arthur, did you not learn from Yellow? Bullying eldritch entities and trying to tell them who and what they're supposed to be is a very, very bad move, and you should know this from personal experience. That's why I'm voting for Lilith / Scratch's voice. Also, because I love Lilith very, 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 very dearly. Alright, that's all I have to say, I think. Bye-bye, Autopsies.
Thank you, Gogoat. You always have such lovely messages.
And I just wanted to shout Gogoat out specifically because I don't think we have ever mentioned this on Autopsy, but if you are in the fandom, if you are looking at fan art and you have seen, there's a few of them out there, but one of the Arthur scar charts, one of the ones that we reference a lot, that is a very simple figure with a lot of different colors marking out all the different scars, that's Gogoat's. And I feel like that has been a solid reference. Yeah, that's Gogoat. Yeah.
We have like a fandom resource legend that's just hanging out in our stupid little fan podcast. Hi, Gogoat. Thank you so much for that scar chart. Literally everybody uses it, including me, when I'm writing all the fucking time. Thank you so much for that.
Incredibly useful resource. I can't believe we haven't shouted that out before. But also, there was some very funny jokes and memes after we learned about Smoother and No More Scarther. People were just like scribbling over the scar charts or just saying canceled on it. Or
Canceled.
It was very funny.
Oh, God.
I am so excited about this next message.
Misraa here again, and while I am super happy that Arthur is alive, I'm also devastated thinking about John out there on his own somewhere, thinking that Arthur is dead and that he has to do this all on his own. Of course, I'm already looking forward to their reunion and that soft Arthur and John moment we might get when John realizes that his Arthur is still alive. But I'm also really loving this Arthur and Lilith team up that we have going on as well. It's like early Arthur and John, but Lilith is way more sassy and Arthur more experienced and already sick of her shit. I do think it's really interesting and cool how Arthur could resist Lilith trying to overpower him. And the sound effect that was used is the same as when the lighter was opened in the Dark World. Here's that lighter effect. And Arthur telling Lilith no.
I said stop!
Did Arthur gain some sort of power from returning from the Dark World and absorbing the lighter? Or else, where is the lighter? Did Arthur finally achieve our goal of getting him to eat some inedible object?
Misraa, he didn't eat the lighter. He didn't eat the lighter. Oh my god.
The shit posting lives on. Oh my god, Misraa, I was so excited when I listened to this message. Thank you so much for the audio examples. That's so cool. It's so cool hearing it side by side.
Yeah, I actually went and I had this discussion in a private goo chat several days ago, and we were all listening to the chapters, and I don't remember exactly the specific person who pointed out that it was the same sound, but I went and hunted down a couple of clips so that I could do the side-by-side comparison because, oh my god, I did not hear it at all. I didn't even notice that it was the same sound effect because usually when the lighter's been evoked, there's been such a scrap going on, or like it's been a really scary and high adrenaline moment,
or it's precluded by the sound of the lighter actually lighting, like
right,
that's sort of the trigger, and then you get the but we just get the without the lighter sound. So yeah, good catch, keen ears, thank you.
I hope that Harlan is beaming with pride that people have noticed his hard audio work, because I do think that's supposed to say something. What it is, I don't know, but I do feel like it's something.
Very curious.
All right, we have a couple more left.
We have one shitpost and then one really lovely heartfelt note to close out on.
Hey there, y'all. It's Pan. I use he, they pronouns. Today, I'm speaking to you from the voice of Wallace Larson. Now, I must put forth that I am not up to date on Malevolent at all, but it's been brought to my attention that the vote this week is choosing Scratch's new voice. Now, for my good friend Bart, I'm putting forth some propaganda into Autopsy using my very own voice to say we must rally together as brothers in arms and fight against Oscar voters, because obviously we stand no chance against Scratch. But it would be damn funny if we beat them with Larson. So, that's all I have to say. Enjoy your autopsy.
Thanks,
Pan, you're an absolute loon. You're not even caught up, but you're like, I'll do it for the bit. Watch me.
Oh my god, that was incredible and so
Holy
good.
shit.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Pan. What a gift. So I think that kind of helps cover some of the shit posting that's been going on for the race for second place that has been going on in the poll mines this week. I just wanted to make sure we included that, so thank you for submitting, Pan.
Thank you very much, Pan. I think that almost wraps us up. I know this last submission is something we want to kind of play before our sign off. So is there anything you think we left out?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I mean, it wasn't much of a vote this week. And so It was more about sort of encapsulating the experience of how we all went from mourning Arthur Lester to celebrating and laughing about the traitor and laughing about the sassy back and forth between Arthur and Lilith. And it's been a roller coaster.
Fingers fucking crossed that we get a good vote this week. I'm so ready to be arguing again. With that being said, let's listen to this lovely submission to close us out.
Hi, it's Moony. I go by she, her, and it's gonna be more like a love letter. So I feel like this podcast is wired with metal inside my brain and body already. The way it stirs my perception of the world from week to week is just wild, because the week I lived with thought that Arthur is gone and all his grief and holding on to the community is just entirely different week from the one I lived after the last chapter, because after this cry of joy at 3 a.m. during the live drop, the world is literally brighter now, and I feel I can do fucking everything. And I wasn't here for such like shenanigans before, but now I've got such a lesson of hope, and it's something I really needed when there is a literal war around me. And this like powerful influence over me scares and surprises me sometimes, but it's actually such a precious thing to have something you care so deeply about, and I'm really happy I have someone to share it with.
Thank you so much for your submission, Moony. We are so happy to have you. I am so glad that you are here and part of the community, and thank you for sharing your beautiful voice with Autopsy. I think it is very special, and I am so grateful and honored to have the privilege to share stories like yours.
Yeah, Moony, this was such a sweet message, and I think I've talked before on Autopsy about how I don't really get choked up very easily. I don't cry very easily. This message got me choked up. What a sweet sentiment. It was really lovely to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, we love you guys. All right, guys, until next time, the horrors persist.
But so do we.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, of course, to Harlan Guthrie, the sole creator of Malevolent. Without his labor of love for a story he wants to tell, we wouldn't be here. To join the live recording, submit your own message, get in touch with me, and more, visit linktree/Malevolent Autopsy. The official Invictus Discord server is open to the public and includes a channel just for Malevolent Autopsy fans. We also have our own private, patrons-only channel. Finally, thank you to Misraa, Nikki, Vol Control, and everyone who has helped create and maintain Malevolent Autopsy. These friends are also volunteers who donate time and energy to help put together this love letter to Malevolent.